Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast. You idiots, I'm just laughing at these clowns just trying to make faces at me in the background. On this episode of the ET Stand podcast, we are going to work out, stop it you idiots. We're going to try and work out what a dynasty is and if the Cronulla Sharks can ever build one of their own. We're just not content with one premier. These idiots in the background, I'm going to stop them from pulling faces at me. Let's just bring them in. That is Boldo's Tears. Chris Kelly, who would you move?
Where do we start? I'm glad Boldo didn't grow up in Egypt times because that's a terrible looking pyramid. It would have fallen over and collapsed by now. And given that he just Googled the squad and put Matt Ikevalu in the bottom and he hasn't been there since half of last year, a pyramid would have fallen.
He's still on the page.
The pyramid would have fallen over. You would have been missing a foundation piece and it's fallen over.
Oh, Maloney is still... Away goes! Away goes James Maloney! They're kicking him home, the Sharks fans! Maloney is there! Healy! It's Healy! And gone! On his departure day! Mitch Healy gets a try! The crowd have gone absolutely bereft!
In amongst all of that, Lat's had an awesome story about how awesome this Finau guy was, and then Boldo concludes it with like, yeah, Finucane, how good is he? And everyone's like,
I don't even know who Finau is. I just assumed that Finau was the same guy as Finucane. Is that a different person? I didn't know that. Who the hell's Finau?
Wow. This is how flawed the tears are. He doesn't even know half the team.
Boldo.
This is where the tears bit comes into it.
I'm listening to the card going, did my stream just like skip 30 seconds or something? Like, no, it was just Boldo just playing along. But anyway.
Peachy, great ball to Campbell. He's away.
Campbell to the 30-metre line. Now, Colin Best heading to the corner. Gets it back on the inside. Graham, they're over. Nick Graham has scored. 4 minutes into the game. And it's away. Here they are. Pryor. Can he get it there? Yes, he can. Matt Pryor, an unlikely first try scorer for the Sharks.
Interesting enough that the North Bears are getting that desperate. They're talking about having a Pacific Bears team so they can sort of engulf those Pacific nations and sort of get that ball rolling where they think they can sort of, take on the Cook Islands and the Samoans and the Tongas and sort of make it their team. So PNG's to go for me.
I'm pretty convinced after that. All right, Franco, what do you got?
Mate, can I rebuttal that, or am I giving a different answer?
Go for it. Enough arguments on this podcast. Come on,
you're going to throw out cans, and they're going to play out again.
Ever. That is the dumbest idea ever.
Townsend now calling the shots with Johnson off. They will go. Gallen, field goal. Paul Gallen field goal. That is amazing. That is ridiculous. Away. It's back to Smith. Smith gets it away to Cronk. Cronk's got Korobetti with it. Have they got a chance here? Korobetti's put down. The siren sounds. Cronulla have won it. Cronulla have won it. 14-12. You can turn the light out now.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.
The NRL is under fire amidst calls for more consistency. Well, we have something consistent for you. It's called the ET Stand Podcast, live on a Tuesday night on the YouTube, baby. You know what else is consistent? Sharks victories right now, as the Sharks are eyeing off a third or maybe second place finish. Certainly a top four finish if we can get a week and win over the New Zealand Warriors. Welcome to the ET Stand, the Sharks fan podcast that lets us talking to the football. Now available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube Podcasts, and various others, and also including Amazon Music now. Get involved in the comments tonight. Ask us questions. Tell us where we're wrong, because we're frequently wrong, and do keep us honest. The comments section of this show are certainly the honesty brokers amongst all Sharks fans, so please do certainly help us with comments, and then also help us with a subscription as well by hitting the little subscribe button and following us as well. The boys are all here. Kelly came in late, so he doesn't even know if his microphone's working. You had a good weekend, mate. You were down in Wollongong. What have you got in store for us tonight, mate?
I had a great weekend. How good's beating the Dargans? It was so good.
Oh.
I took on a bit of Boldo personality down at the ground. I was ripping into the crowd up on the hill. I moved down the northern end for the second half. I ripped into your mate, Mr. Furious, giving it to all the players. There was a moment where ULE sort of wanted the crowd to get involved, and he moved towards the back fence, and there was a Boldo-esque Dragons fan getting down into his ear in the fence. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to join in and do the other side. So he had the evil side on one side and the good side on the other side, and ran off the back fence, and then I ran back up on the hill for the last 10 minutes to give it to the rest of the Dragons fans. It was still there. It was amazing. I ran amok. Loved it.
That's so good. We've got a couple of comments coming through before I say good day to the other lads. Harley's come through and saying and reminding us, yes, we haven't won a home final at Shark Park since 2008. But Nico Hines is back. That is certainly true. And SJD is here giving me a bit of stick, saying Sharks by 8 last week. Speaking of wrong. Yep, sorry, I was wrong. And then, yes, a couple of comments from the boys from Waz TV, Waz Up TV. So I was just live on their channel on YouTube. Terrific bunch of fellas. Certainly the second best rugby league YouTube channel that you'll be able to follow for any other NRL fans out there. So the Waz Up TV's boys saying, thanks, Boulder, for dropping in. It was great to have you on. And oh, goodness, what are the Waz Up TV guys doing?
Oh, no.
What are they doing?
Settle down, Paul. Someone check on Paul.
Oh, goodness. We had a fun in the Waz Up TV guys. They do a really cool segment where they make the opposition fan pick a combined starting 17. It was pretty good. They were pretty honest with us, but they were trying to put bloody Nicole Clockstad in the standards instead of our guys was the only one that was a little bit questionable. But other than that, they were very, very, very good. So if you want to check that video out, it's go follow Waz Up TV and you can check that one out. We're going to have Ash from Waz Up TV on a video Thursday for an opposition fan preview as well. Ash is an absolute legend. God, this guy, he certainly knows a lot about rugby league, and they're just so New Zealanders. And also, they did a good thing for me. Just Nicola, they reminded me or educated me on how to pronounce some of our own players' names correctly. Williams is here. Williams, are we talking streaks tonight or what?
We're talking consecutive wins against specific teams. We're not saying anything about streaks. I don't want to put the mock on this current streak. Sorry. Consecutive number of wins we have against the Dargans, the St. George Illawarra Dargans. It's up there. It's not the record, but we'll talk about those, where that sits historically.
All right, we will certainly do that. And look, man of the people was being man of the family on the weekend, entertaining his gorgeous, beautiful mother, one of the great Shire mothers, Mama Lats. Happy birthday again. Look, I know you weren't watching the show on Sunday because you're having a feed, but I know you'll be watching the show now. So I promise you I did not miss saying happy birthday to you on Sunday. I needed no reminders. It was certainly in the intro. It was in the whole bit. Hello, Scotty.
How are you, mate?
Mate, I'm excellent. But, you well fed? You've got a haircut, mate.
Mate, I've gone the mullet. I've got a job now. I don't have to go for an interview, so I've got the mullet back. And, Yeah, just bringing sexy back.
All right, well, that was never in doubt. Well, the other thing you're bringing back is also the social roundup and all of the social news. So there's been plenty of buzz around the Sharkies right now. It's all very, very good vibes. So let's dive into what's trending and making waves on the social media this week as I hit add the stage. There we go. Mr. Latt, take us away.
Thank you, mate. Mate, there's been some angry and frustrated Sharkies fans around amongst the socials this last couple of days with Jesse copping a week for that high shot on Sunday, and given the circumstances around the lead up to it. And most of the frustration has been directed towards none other than Ashley Klein himself. The guy blew the absolute pee out of the whistle throughout Sunday's win, and for that cheeky jibe when Cam tried to challenge for an offside in the lead up to Ramian's high shot and was told you can't challenge, but you can have 10 in the bin. March Jesse for 10. Fans hating on the rule, believing we should have been allowed to challenge it. It should go back to the initial infringement from the Dragons, and Jesse should have just been placed on report and await his fate. But and it should have been a penalty to the Sharks. But yeah, pretty annoying. But I guess that's part of the complex rules of rugby league, and I guess we're stuck with it. But yeah, what do you guys think of that?
Oh, it could have been a huge turning point, especially at that point in the game. Really, we were on the attack, turning the screws. The touchy was right there. So even if Klein wasn't in the best position, the bunker, the touchy, any of them could have said, hey, knock on at minimum, offside at worst, or at probably correct. Blow the whistle, instead play on, and then that happens. Yeah, if it was a regulation tackle, we probably wouldn't have been able to go back to it anyway. But yeah, just the arrogance of it, I'm going to call it. Just no, you can't challenge. And by the way, a guy's going to go in the bin. Oh, if I did my job, or my team did my job properly, or did our job properly, then we wouldn't be here in the first place. So anyway.
There you go. Alrighty. Mate, look, I know I brushed over this, lads, last week, but it's still the talk of the socials at the moment, and it's pretty much predominantly all that's being spoken about in our halves conundrum when Nico's ready to come back, which looks like it could possibly be this week, given that he's been named on the extended bench. There's plenty of ideas being floated around. I can see it being a real headache for Fitzy going forward. A nice headache to have, but it's a headache none the same. There's still a push from a select few, which I mentioned last week, to bring Nico in at fullback, dropping Will. It's not going to happen, nor should it. Will's been extremely safe there at the back. His defence has improved out of sight this year, and he's starting to inject himself into our attack a lot more lately, which is nice to see. We can put that to bed for mine, but there's the drop Atco altogether approach and stick with Tricky and Nico in the halves and go with a forward-heavy bench, possibly. We also have the Atkinson to a bench utility position that I personally think's more a probable approach, as we need to keep Dan in the side in some capacity. We're going to have teams sniffing around, knocking soon, that need halves, and he's shown that he can do it. And I also came across this interesting little concept, a statistically backed option on Facebook by Corey Howard, that was to have Tricky come off the bench, have Nico and Atco in the halves, have Tricky come on in the middle if needed. Atkinson and Nico, they gelled so well together. They're a strong combination. He stated, doesn't mean that Tricky and Nico weren't, but just the way Nico and Atco gelled was just lovely. It allows Hines to play a more freer form of footy. And he goes on to state, we've won 8 of 11 games with Atkinson in the halves, including wins against competition heavyweights in the Storm and the Roosters in Melbourne and Brisbane. I don't mind this. We know Atco can ice a game in high-pressure moments, and I think Corey might be onto something here.
He's not Tom Brady. We're going to come back to that later in the show when we talk through the expected lineup for week 1 and who should be in that team. So get it into the comments right now. Who do you think should be the halves pairing? And I'm just going to put up one early comment, which I think would be the ideal solution, which is Harley's just said, well, just play 3 halves and just have the 14 players. That would certainly be a great solution, Harley. Why hadn't we thought of that until now? But we're certainly going to talk about that. Get it in the comments. Who should be the halves pairing? We're coming back to that bad boy. Next.
Alrighty. The third place Newtown Jets unfortunately went down 34-24 at the hands of the 9th place Dragons, which have now moved into 6 at Collegian Sporting Complex in Wollongong on Saturday. I think it goes to show how valuable those players are that came up and did a job for us for our first grade squad on Sunday are to the Jets. It was a very tit-for-tat affair with the Dragons scoring a late try in the first half going into the break 18-12, and the Dragons proving too strong and closing it out in the second half. Jets tries to Hosking, Ferris, Liu, and Big Tuku Hautapua. Puru kicking at 100%. Wasn't enough to seal the victory, however. Luckily, with other results going our way, with losses to North Sydney and Canberra, who sit one competition point ahead of us on the knock-on effect New South Wales Cup ladder, we get the opportunity to jump them when we face the Warriors at Henson Park at 3 p.m. this Saturday. Moving on, another dominant victory to our NRLW squad on Sunday night over the Dragons. I won't go too in depth as we broke it down in our debrief on Sunday night, but it was the Tonegado show. Emma was brilliant, as were the entire team, to be honest. Captain Tiana Penatani opened her account with a lovely try in the second minute. She went on to bag a double with tries also to Nakia Davis-Walsh, Rhiannon Byers, and Georgia Ravix also crossing twice. Taylor Preston, 2 from 6 with a boot. Both teams looked amazing in their respective Indigenous jerseys. I love the concept, and with plenty of proud Indigenous women across the NRLW, let's hope we see an Indigenous round in the not-too-distant future. And finally, the club also announced the signing earlier last week of Rugby Sevens World Cup winning superstar Dominic Dutoit for the remainder of the 2024 season. So welcome aboard, Dom.
Sounds good. Great update, as always, lads. You're just so
Thank
good
you,
at that, aren't you? Just
getting better.
Well, mate, you were good to start with. There's none of this getting better.
Thanks, mate.
I mean, you were just
Come out of the box fast.
Certainly better. All right, well, we touched on it. The Dragons, the Dargans. I think the Dargans saying might actually stick. So the Sharks had a brilliant win over the Dragons on Sunday. Live watching from the hill, as he touched on earlier on. Chris was there. How was the atmosphere for the Sharkies fans? What was it like?
Yeah, you know what? The best thing about this time of year, and I always get excited, obviously the weather warms up a little bit. We had a nice weather down here on Saturday into Sunday, a little bit cooler, but it was still great. I think given that both teams are, the Dragons, where they were sort of perilously sitting in that 8th spot, sort of spurred on a bit of a team, and in the local derby, there were a lot of half families going in where, half in each camp of Dragons or Sharks fans, ideally with us as well. We were 12 strong, and I went with 4 Dragons, mate, myself. So very, very even out crowd, given that we're riding so high, a local derby. Finally, the Dragons are sort of putting up some numbers to be proud of, and fans hoping to sort of stay in that 8 and see how they went. We'll just touch on Ashley Klein there. Ashley, I don't know what you're doing, but, mate, I could see that knock-on/offside, and I was on the 20-metre mark on top of a hill in front of 10,000 other people. So I don't know how he missed that. I was calling for it, but obviously booed down on the hill in a spot like that. He also called a try for Lomax, and I was sitting in the opposite corner then in the northern end, and I could see the push from Atkinson getting shoved in the back and going up as a try, and I thought that was a bit bizarre. So I understand they've got to get these decisions right and make a split decision, but if I'm sitting 50 to 60 metres away and I can see it, I don't know how they're getting it wrong. But that's just a little side note for me, but it was quite an enjoyable day. As we took the lead, you can see the Dragons fans starting to filter out, murmur. A lot of Sharks chants going up as well. I know the Dragons sound guy tried to start a bit of a Dragons chant, but it got drowned out by a Sharks chant, which is great to hear. Instead of just Dragons, it would turn into a Sharkies chant. And the Dragons fans went, well, that's what we can put up against a top 4 reigning team, and that's it. I think they're going to go out with a bit of a fizzle. So we'll go into that a bit later, what the rest of the matchups look like for the rest of the season. They see if they can make the 8, but we just flexed our muscle, missing probably arguably top 4 or 5 of our players, and still came away with a dominant victory. So it was great to see. I will note as well that on that women's game, most of the crowd did hang around at the start. It was obviously a bit of a hard exit, but to where I was sitting in that northern end and to watch a try score in the first 2 minutes right in front of me was great. A few players were still hanging around doing autographs, so the crowd was quite heavy and enjoyable, and then the girls went on to dominate from there. So great afternoon out, and continue our little, what did we say, Williams? Wins. 3 from 3 in the last wins at Wynn Stadium. So not straight, but wins. It's been great.
Consecutive results. Exactly.
There we go. Yeah.
Matty, what did you make of the return of Braden Trindle?
Really good. I thought it provided direction, provided a second kicking option, it provided another attacking option. So against the Knights, we got figured out the first 10 minutes or so. So Acko scored a try off. You'd say he bumped off Ponga, and there was a pretty big hole in the middle which we created, but you're not going to get that against the better teams. And then the second one was off a grubber off Atkinson. So good stuff, but the Knights figured out that we didn't have too much of an attacking option or threat, and we looked a bit rudderless at times in attack, where the other day Atkinson had more kicking meters, but Trindle just provided that additional half, really. You need it in the NRL. You can't get by with that style of having an additional forward and just Atkinson for too long, I don't think. I don't think you can get away with that just period, to be honest with you. I think it's a niche scenario that might work in certain circumstances, but it's not going to win you a competition. It was great to have him back.
That's the next man up. Harodi, Stone Street, Atkinson are all doing a job for the Sharks. What was your take on all of those guys, especially Marwin Hamelot there?
You couldn't help yourself, could you? You couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't.
Look, mate, Marwini, he didn't get to see the ball too much. When he did, he scored a try.
And then got injured.
He didn't have to do. He got injured. He didn't have to do too much though. Stone Street, what a gun! What an absolute gun! He'll be our starting winger in the next couple of years. I think he'll replace Sione another couple of years. Sione's aging; he's 29 now, which is young for me. But he's just, we're going to lock him down and keep him there. He's a gun of a player. He can play on either side if we need him to, and he's just competent first grade material. Mate, how good. Atko's gun, just sensational, mate. We've got a lot of depth there, and it's just awesome to see these guys step in and step up like a well-oiled machine.
Chris, is Brayley the top Cronulla Shark right now? Where does he sit compared to the rest of the hookers in the NRL?
Oh, no, we're not going to go with top Shark at the moment. Obviously, we've got a team, like Lat said, we've got a lot of depth, a lot of good players. The one thing he did do on the weekend, what everyone's been asking for all season, and if not last year, was have a couple of darts out of dummy half, and he pretty much provided a threat all game. A couple of times he almost scored himself, provided a great platform for our forwards, and kept going forward. So in hookers, look, he was pushing at one stage for New South Wales selection. You put him in the top 10, if not top 5, but he just needs it. We've talked about it, that maybe that little second-guessing kicking game that he could do, and a few more runs like he has in the last couple of weeks. And next thing you know, we've got a superstar on our hands in the 9. I think he's a great, solid player. I've never knocked him. I don't think he has many mistakes in defence or attack. So I love watching him, and love, surely he realises in those situations when he puts the cape on, it makes a wonderful difference to our team. So hopefully he can just keep going strong like that going into the finals.
Indeed. Matty Williams, should Jesse Ramian have been suspended?
Unfortunately, yes. I don't think he had much of a case to answer. It was a high shot. So 1 week he's copped, I can cop that. And also I think he's due a rest anyway. So Hero had the week off last week. I think it's a good time to bring Talakai back if we open that trap door of a discussion point. And give Ramian a week off.
Well, I'll give you the other question that I was going to ask you is, the forward bench rotation, Matty. Do you feel we've also got that right now coming into the finals? That looks also a little bit more bedded down.
Watching that my stream might be a bit dodgy here. I've got a low internet warning, but yes, I think so. I think that we saw how we were succeeding with the run of consecutive wins prior to the Panthers loss. We were getting plenty of go forward and consistent go forward with the bench coming on and just nothing letting up. Then the Panthers game, we really struggled. We just were dominated. We looked flat. We looked tired. And then the following Parramatta game, I was at, and we were just getting no go forward whatsoever. I think Hamlin, Welly, and Royce Hunt provided a bit there. But I think through that lull, we have now got the bench rotation right. Touch wood. Don't want to put the mock on things, but things seem to be coming together fitness-wise there, where 2022, we seem to be limping into the finals a bit in that regard with, I think there were injury clouds around Hamlin, Welly and Royce Hunt then. So hopefully no calamities in the next few weeks, but I think that is the rotation. Also going into the finals, I think as much as I'd love to carry either Atkinson or Trindle on the bench, one of them will be 18th man because you need that redundancy. You need that ability to keep that punch going through the middle, especially against the big teams. We had success against Melbourne and the Roosters there, obviously not against the Panthers, but that's one of our strengths, and we need to keep that going.
And lastly, Lats, Iro and Ramian receiving a lot of praise again. He's the centre combination discussion. Is it finally put to bed now? Is it done?
Mate, tuck it in and kiss it goodnight. It's put to bed. We saw how much Iro means to us in the centres in the Newcastle game. and how much we missed him coming out of our half. Not to mention he's crossing the line of late. Talakai's great to have there as a fill-in, as what's happening this week. But Iro is now a first-grade centre, has been for many weeks now. Talakai's our impact bench player, and I think that's where it has to stay.
All right, I think that's right. Well, even as we say that, the comments, Wars Up TV got the comment, and Talakai should be in the centres. We've got Ash Thomas coming through, Talakai for centre full time. Harley's welcoming back for Talakai being back in the team. G'day to Mike Knight. Good to see you, mate. Always a pleasure having you here. And then what have we got? Harley called out that the Sharks girls are still undefeated and unstoppable. Yeah, geez, the Sharkies girls. I'm just worried for them that it's going to be chronolified, personified. They go through undefeated, and then you just know what might happen. And then Williams 2.0 came through agreeing with you, Lats, on Stone Street. And Ash has just outed himself there, saying just a giggle, boys. And then Scott McLaren, greetings from South Korea, up Cronulla. Yep, indeed. Well, we do have a wide remit here on the ET Stand podcast, so it's good to know. Now, there are a few other comments that have come through. We are going to save them for later in the show as we move on to, look, I just couldn't resist putting it in the right-hand column, calling it win streaks against specific teams. I know that I'm getting absolutely lambasted and hammered by my fellow panelists on our group chat later for putting the mock on us again. Atkinson never misses a kick and also making us do the street chat last time. However, Williams is now going to talk us through consecutive wins versus specific teams for another history lesson with the didactic Matthew Williams. Take it away, buddy.
What better time than the present to talk about the past is my new tagline. Shout out to all of our fans of the history segment on the forums. But looking at this, so don't worry, I'll give you all the try scorers of all these matches and the Jets games too that coincided. So on this one, actually, he mentioned the word streak. So when we lose to the Dragons and the run of consecutive losses occurs, you can find David Balderman at his address. I'll give it to you if you want to PM me, and you can send all the hate mail that way, because I'm going to call it consecutive wins versus specific teams. So I'm going to give you, there's a lot of teams we've beaten 6 times in a row. I'll quickly rattle them off. So we've got the Roosters, the Bulldogs, the Eels, the West Tigers, Newtown Jets, Western Suburbs Magpies. But we've beaten the Panthers 7 times in a row. That was between 2016 and 2019, that famous rebuilding period for Gus. That was a joke that never ended until 2020 came around, and I think eggs all on our face, and I'm still cleaning it up off my face. Anyway, good luck to you, Panthers, but we really dominated you there. It started with that Anzac Day win in 2016, followed by I think we had 7 or 8 players out, and Ben Barber ran right, and the Black Cat occurred, and all that stuff happened at Penrith Park later that year. So thanks to the memories, Panthers. On to the next. 8 in a row versus the North Sydney Bears, 1973 to 1977. But you'll see that logo there is the Newcastle Knights. We owned them from 2015 to 2019. Then Edric Lee broke our hearts in round 1 of 2019. Sean Johnson's also first game for the club with I can't remember who threw the intercept, but someone threw an intercept and he ran the length to score. So anyway, we won 8 in a row prior to that, including a 62-0 shellacking. On to the next. So we've got 9 in a row versus the Gold Coast Titans. It's the first time of 2 occasions that a Gold Coast team will feature in this history of streaks, but a different Gold Coast team or teams. So 2018 to 2024, unfortunately, it ended in Coffs Harbour this year. And St George Illawarra. So there's an asterisk against that. 9 wins in a row between 2020 and 2024. The last time we lost to them was during the COVID-affected 2020 restart at Campbelltown. On to the next. So we've got 10 in a row versus the Giants, Seagulls, Chargers. I had my pick of logos there. I went the Chargers, but they're all pretty good or amateur-looking logos of our friends north of the Tweed there. So 10 in a row between 1990 and 1998. And that finished, actually. They didn't beat us. The club folded before they managed to beat us. So hopefully that doesn't happen to any other teams or us, but that's how that one went. And then 10 in a row versus Souths, which went from 1994 to 2004. And that was a little bit of a, I suppose, lengthening period due to the fact that they weren't in the comp in 2000 or 2001. And then in 2004, Greg Bird needs Shane Martini. Brett Carney ran right for South Sydney, and that was the end of that. But the record Any takers? Anyone want to
I
have
knew
a
you were
stab?
going to ask us that.
What are your West?
I'm going to say West
Magpies.
Magpies.
All close. We actually only
Or
beat
Tigers.
them 6 times in a row, the West Magpies. They did seem to
Mhm.
jag us some wins there. Definitely not Manly. We only beat them a maximum of 3 times in a row. That was 2022 and 2023 that we did that.
Could be the Cowboys.
It was the Cowboys.
Yes.
Oh,
Gets it. 1997 to 2004. And it would have been 1995 to 2004 if we didn't lose. I think it was our second match against them up at Stockland, or what was then the name for Dairy Farmers, or 1300 Smiles, or whatever it was called as. Terrible stadium up there, where we lost in, I think, early 1996. So 12 in a row for the Cowboys. A few other notable shout-outs before I go into all the reserve grade records. Just kidding. So we've beaten the Tigers 6 in a row, but we had a horrible record, losing a whole stack in a row to them. The Warriors, we've beaten 5 matches in a row. That's our longest streak between 2012 and 2014. The Broncos and the Raiders, we've only beaten 4 times in a row. And the Melbourne Storm, we've only beaten a maximum of 2 times in a row. But the flip side of that is they've only beaten us a maximum of 5 times in a row. So it's not like the Storm have had a massive run of success against us. Although the joke between 2008 and 2016 was, when was the last time we beat the Storm? Olympic years. We tend to only beat them in Leap or Olympic years. 08, 2012, 2016, and then we had a bit of a run after that. So
We
that
beat them
was...
this year as well.
Sorry?
We beat them this year as well.
Well, yeah,
Olympic
that's
year.
in the meet 2019 the like. But yes, you're right. If it's Olympic year, back us in.
Excellent segment, Matthew. I just thoroughly enjoy those segments. I'm just trying to think of, if you have any future segments you would like Matthew to cover off, then please do get them in the comments, or drop a line on our Facebook page, and we can make him do any brief that you might put forward. Still, I think the all-time is the most painful one, is the all-time Sharks terrible finals losses. Is still the most painful one that we've made you do, isn't it?
You got to make Lats watch the 99 prelim again.
We're making
Third
that.
time.
just finished therapy from that.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. All right. The Cronulla Sharks are playing the Sean Johnson-led New Zealand Warriors in what will be Sean Johnson's last match in the National Rugby League. One more time for him to try and dash the hopes of the Sharkies. We've seen him do it to a couple of times before. As we know, the Sharks are in a pretty good position, but no game for the Sharkies is a lock. Well, the Warriors, they've been in some pretty bad form these last few weeks, having only really beaten the Tigers in the last 6 or 7 weeks, having losses to Bulldogs, Manly, Dolphins, Parramatta coming into this game. Chris, is this a fait accompli of the Sharks beating the Warriors?
Hands down. This is another flex of the muscle, and I'm hoping maybe going into Four Pines Park against Manly, we can do a Craig Bellamy and just rest everyone up for the last round and just wipe the Brookvale and not worry about it. So hopefully we cement our top 4 position going into this game and really sort of hit our straps and send the boys packing. I'd like to, the Warriors do sit behind the Roosters for me in the heart position. I do love the Wars. I loved all of last year when everyone was getting behind them. We know how much we love Sean Johnson. We want to sort of cheer on a little bit of Fanua Blake when he's coming next year and maybe show him how welcoming we are this season coming into next season. But I think their season was pretty much wrapped up a couple of weeks ago when they thought they had a chance, and Parramatta went over to New Zealand and absolutely gave them a hiding. So they've probably got one eye on Bali in 2 weeks' time and probably the end of their season. So I'm going to say Sharks by 20 on the weekend.
Oh, geez, that's aggressive. All right. Well, Chris, what the team was named at 4 p.m.
Well, beat the
today.
Dargans by 28, so why not?
Yeah, the Dargans are probably better than the Warriors, aren't they? All right, Chris, why don't you take us through the team list?
All right, guys. So obviously we heard that Jesse Ramian's already copped a 1 week suspension. So we've got Will Kennedy, Sione Katoa, and the big Talakai, the controversial Talakai into the centres. Iro, Stone Street, Atkinson, Trindle, Rudolph, Brayley, Kafusi. Go on, Boldo. You can name all the
Nicola.
11. You've had a lesson. Yes, thank
Nicola.
you. You've had a dialect lesson tonight. T. Wilton and Cam McGuinness. Everyone's favourite player in 14 and Jack Williams, Royce Hunt, Brandon Hammond-Uele, and Thomas Hazelton at number 17, Craig Fitzgibbon. For all you Sharks fans, Nico Hines has been named in the extended bench. Whether he's going to play this week or maybe give him a run next week against Manly, but he is hopeful at least getting a run before the final. So we'll watch this space and see if there's any changes. Going to this game, obviously we've got to see a few of our guys back in Katoa, but Ronnie's still another week off. We do have the luxury, if we do flex our muscle like I predicted, that at least our guys get a bit more rest going to the final series, and we don't need to really rush them in. So not too many changes into a winning team, and like I said, Sharks by 20.
Chris, what side of the field is Sifa Talakai going to play on, you think? Which side is he going to go? Does he take the Ramian side? Is it like for like?
No, I think there's a little bit of switch there. I think I like the Iro and Katoa side, and I'll go with Talakai and Stone Street on one side. I think that's his preferred side. I love him trucking down in front of our bench where we sit in the ET stand and watch him go to work, and then his silky little hands to set up a couple of tries. So that should be the side for me. He's playing on the left.
All right, as we look to the Warriors team, a couple of ex-Sharkies in there. Chris, why don't you give us the rundown on them too?
Yeah, so like we heard, a few injuries and a few outs for the Warriors. So Roger Tuivasa-Sheck copped a head knock last week, and so he's out this week. So we've got Tuapiki back in at fullback, DWZ on the wing, and Charles Nicol-Klostad in the centres. Ali Lautiti, Marcelo Montoya, Luke Metcalf, the ex-Shark, Sean Johnson, the ex-Shark, and Aidan Fanua-Blake, the future Shark. Wade Egan, Mitchell Barnett, Nikora, who's not our Nikora, our Kurt Capewell, and Dylan Walker playing at lock there. They've got Freddie Lussick, Tom Ali, Jazz Tavega, and young Dimitri Sivakula. So, and Coach Andrew Webster. So, going into their last game, yeah, I think their season's done. Like I said, I think they got the eyes on the holidays coming up. They had that big swan song ruined by the referees and bunker last week over there in Sean Johnson Stadium against the Bulldogs. So, I think this is just a bit of a last trip to Australia and see how they go from there.
Is it 2002 again? They got Ali Lautiti back. I wasn't looking at it. I think is the pronunciation Lautua?
Lautua?
I'm not sure.
Lautua.
Lautua.
Are they related or not? I thought I was led to believe they were related. No,
they were the last.
Our Lautiti was a great player.
Might be related to Finau, Boldo.
TV guys going through bloody Ali Lauatiti in the 2002 match. So let's just not talk about that, shall we?
Yes, I don't believe there's a relation given the fact that their last names are spelled very differently. But
well, the Wild TV guys are watching. Maybe they can clear that one up for you. There we go. A rare moment. Boldo was right.
Nephew. There you go.
There we go. Thank you, Ash. You're an absolute legend. I told you Ash was a legend. All right, Matty, give us the rundown. What's our form been like against the Warriors, and what's the history look like?
Well, obviously they came in 1995. They were a new team. So did we beat them first up? No, we did not. No, we didn't. We lost at, what was that? At Shark Park at Caltex, 23 points to 18 in the Eon Crossan dropped the Eon Crossan? No, Samet dropping the line drop out there back in 1995. 49 matches in total. Cronulla Sharks 29, Warriors 20. No draws. There's been at least one Golden Point game. Remember back in 2016, our longest win streak or consecutive run of victories against this team is 5. Theirs is 3. We will last start winners in round 1. Total points tally on aggregate is 1,048 to 888 in favour of Cronulla. And at Shark Park, we've played a total of 24 matches, 17 wins to the Sharks, 7 to the Warriors. So not too much more to shout on that. Obviously, we had a negative beginning, a bit of an up and down period after that. Then they moved into a period of, I suppose, success and dominance from 02 onwards, and we went the other way, 03 onwards. So they got a whole stack of wins against us there. We always seem to jag a result against them. We've had plenty of good wins over there, and they've had plenty of good wins here as well. Sean Johnson, 2015, breaking our hearts after Fafita had put us in front in about the 75th or 76th minute in that one. So I don't think Sean Johnson this weekend is the same Sean Johnson from 2015, but always have to be wary, especially if there's emotion involved. I think it'll go two ways, as Kelly said. Hopefully, or one of two ways, sorry. Hopefully they've got their eyes on Bali and it finishes a tidy result to us. But if they turn up to play and play like they did last year, which obviously they pulled our pants down last year after one David Bottleman said, surely we can't lose from here at both 20 points to 0 up and 26-6 up. I'll let you defend yourself in a second. I think, I don't know, I'm hoping Sharks by 28, but I think it'll be more Sharks by 8.
We actually have a live video blog of us at that match, which I've never released because we had this idea to do the live match day video blogs before we did this. And we've shot a couple of them, and every time we've ever done one, the Sharks have always lost. So we just stopped doing them. we just got to stop doing these damn videos because it just doesn't ever work out for us. But we'll probably release them over the off-season.
The way I rationalized that one to my then 5-year-old son, who was like, Dad, how could they possibly lose that? Was like, well, we're here last year. Will Kennedy got sent off. Jesse Ramey got sent to the bin, and we should have lost by 30, and we somehow won that one. So obviously, yeah, we gave the points back the following year. But yeah, still up and down against the Warriors.
Yeah, that's true. Get your tips into the comments. Let us know what you think. Ash has just come through saying hopefully Boldo's streaks jinx is a thing. Apparently on the Wars Up TV, they also do jinxes, and it's not just unique to just me. We'll get your predictions for scores up in a second, gang. I'm going to ask you though, Lats, is Nicholas going to play?
I think we'll see him in I think we'll see him for a short time. I don't know how long. What do you think, Boldo? Do you want Nico playing a couple games prior to the finals? I don't want him coming in just fresh for the finals. He's got to get a bit of game time under his belt. And if he's fit, let him play. You might see him for a couple of 20-minute stints, perhaps, depending on how we're going. But I think this one's going to be a lot closer than people think. And I know Chris Kelly loves a Sean Johnson, but we won't go into that. I've got Sharks by 6. And, yeah, it's going to be a lot closer. I know Johnson's going to play his heart out. It's his final game in the NRL. Metcalf's going to want to provide him a win. You've got AFB's going to want to show us what he can do for us next year. And we can't underestimate them. I think we need to go in with this with our heads screwed on. And I think we'll grind it out by 6.
Obviously got 2 results against us last year. They're pretty much the same side, except this year they haven't performed, which Kelly picked at the start of the year. They were going to fall back to the pack, but they still have that potential to perform. I think they've had a few good wins this year, obviously not of late, but feel free to shoot me down as I take a bit of a tangent here when we're talking about Nico. I don't think he'll play this week, but I think he'll definitely play the following week, and I think that the whole form of resting, or the whole idea of resting everyone is fraught because... So it depends. Panthers have got 2 winnable games the last 2 games. I can't remember who, but we checked today. They're basically lock them in, right? So we are on for it against better than them at the moment. We need to keep winning because otherwise we slip to 4th. If we don't, the Bulldogs keep winning. We somehow lose our last 2, heaven forbid, but it's a possibility. We slip to 5th. If we lose one of them, we slip to 4th and we play Melbourne. I think we want to finish 2nd or 3rd and play the Roosters. So I don't know who the Roosters got this weekend. I know they play South in the final round.
Don't steal Chris's segment for later in the show. William.
Sorry, guys. I'll let that.
He's got a whole thing on like what's going to happen.
There we go.
Later
let that be a precursor.
What do I'll give? Look, I think you certainly want to not have him come out with having week 1 in the finals. I think that would be a mistake. But Andrew Johns played in an Origin match. He was pretty underdone and just turned up and smoked him. So maybe we just got to believe. Yeah, well, Nico's a halfback. Okay. No, Nico's quite good. All right, let's just have a look at some of these tips. Daniel Larden's come through with a Sharks 12 plus. What else have we got here? Just trying to see
what did the Wars boys put up, Boldo? What were their predictions?
They were all saying that the Sharks were going to win.
Oh, okay.
Williams 2.0 has come through saying Sharks 32-14, Stone Street, Nico anytime. Try scorers. Have we got all of your tips in? Is that right? Yeah, Francis Crossley. Oh, g'day, Francis. We've got to get you on the show again, mate. Actually, haven't seen you. And Francis, I got an injured hamstring, so I probably need to ring you.
How long's he out for, Francis?
Yeah, we need to.
And when will he stop whinging about it?
Yeah, career-ending injury, Francis. And what is he saying here? Nico only to play. I don't know what that means. Does that mean he's saying that he's going to play?
Play the whole game, maybe.
Yeah, Nico only to play. Yeah, I think that's what he means. I think that might be right. And Scott McLaren's come through all the way from South Korea. Saying that Sharks 28-16. Stone Street double and Trindle kicking a 40-20. Can you bet on 40-20s? You can, can't you? Chris? You ever
Of
do
course,
that?
you can bet on it. You can
I wouldn't know, mate.
You can probably bet on what Transformer shirt Franco is going to wear on next week's episode of the debrief.
You win
All
some,
right,
you lose more.
All right. Anything else we need to cover off in this match, lads?
I think we've covered it, mate.
Can we just hit that Wars team again? Like we said, there's quite a few ex-Sharks and Sharks sort of there.
Yeah, there is.
You got obviously Metcalf, Johnson, Fanua Blake, Capewell. I just don't know. I don't think they're going to put up that kind of fight, but we'll see. I do have a.
Well, they haven't been that good in attack, though.
No.
I haven't been that good in attack, the Warriors, and the Wars guys just made me go through an exercise with them of picking a combined 17, and it was pretty Sharks dominated. They're a little bit, had their New Zealand goggles on, but the forward pack of. Well, certainly the front row for Noah Blake and Mitch Barnett, they would both make our team, and Sean Johnson, of course, would make our team. But I think that the Sharks' defense will just be too good for the Warriors. I think
you reckon Sean Johnson to make our team in current form? I'd say no.
He'd make the team without Nico in it. Yes,
without Nico. Yeah,
without
true.
Nico.
Young Tuapiki at the fullback there. He's quite a little nippy, short, kind of fast fullback. He's quite handy. It's just, like I said, it's the end of the season. There's nothing to play for. Whether they go back to the old Warriors ball and throwing the ball around and scare the pants off us, but I don't think so.
I think that's probably right. Other than that, the other question that came up from the Waz TV was whether we regretted letting Luke Metcalf go.
Don't think
we
so.
did
I think you had to have
ask Franco.
Until Atkinson emerge. That's certainly right. All right. Well, I'm tipping the Sharks win as well. So I think we got 4 from 4 tipping the Sharks all to win. Harley will, of course, be tipping the Sharks. And I'm pretty sure Franco's tipping the Sharks as well. So I think that's going to round out our preview of the Sharkies versus the Warriors. So I'll just switch back to that view and that view. There we go. I'll go on that one. I've had a few comments come through. Now, Paul. You are the honesty broker of this channel. I would never censor any of your comments. I'm just looking for the appropriate time. So Paul has come through and said, do you honestly think that we're going to switch a centre who's played left side all year to the right to compensate for a one-off? Deluded. I'd say you're probably right, Paul. But what I will also say is that the whole point of this is we don't claim to know all the answers, and we're on a journey together of trying to work out what these answers are together, and we present different perspectives so that you can choose. And after having listened to your comment and thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Kale Hero does stay on his side. So I just have a little bit of fun. I got to ask something. Paul, ask me a question that you want us to answer. God, you're a legend, Paul. Shout out to you, Paul. Other comments that have come through. What else have I missed here? I'm just trying to think. Yeah, Tahi Bros just saying refs have been consistently mud this year. And JD said mud backwards is dumb. We've got a few comments talking about which players will be in the finals week 1 lineup. So get your predictions in there. We had a little bit of support for Lats. Sonia Quigley's come through saying Stone Street is that confident, unpredictable, and creative fresh talent we needed as a boost. That's certainly true. And other than that, Mike Knight's come through saying there is no reason why we can't beat them. I think that's certainly true. Harley's come through and said, well, we've got Aiden Fanua-Blake playing for the Sharks in 2025. I tell you what I want to see. I want to see Fanua-Blake with the Sharks jersey underneath. And when the Warriors have made all of their eight replacements, he just pulls his stuff off, grabs the ball and runs up to our end and throws the ball. And he can tell her to put it down just to make sure that we get through. Sonia Quigley's come through. If our lads can refrain from being complacent going into the game, we will get it done with flying black, white and blue colours. No Wakan Furries. I think that's right. Paul has said, so I know what the Warriors game plan will be. Run at the slow bearded bloke.
Me.
Paul is just on a rampage.
All of us. He's going to run into the ET stand.
How good is Paul? And then Asher, great show, boys. I'm off up the wire. Should be a great game this weekend. The S. Johnson Cup. Well, I was calling it the Kurt Cape World Cup, but whatever you're into.
We don't want to call it that.
You know what we could call it?
What could we call it?
Well,
The Glory Cup.
let's call it. Let's keep it G-rated. We could call it the Gerard Beale Cup.
We could call it the Gerard Beale Cup.
I like the SJ Cup. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, we'll call it the
Yeah,
SJ.
that's awesome.
I think he'll get a nice reception from the Sharks fans this weekend. Sean Johnson, how do you think the people will react to Sean Johnson and back at Shark Park for his last match?
Mate, just firstly, I think the SJ Cup's awesome. I think it reads better than the Cape Will Johnson Cup. Yeah, mate, I think they'll welcome him with open arms. He's one of our favourite sons. You know, he did a job for us when he was there. Unfortunately, due to injuries, he couldn't stick around. And I love the guy. I don't think there's anyone in the NRL who doesn't like the guy. I've seen him out around Cronulla when he was playing for us, and he's a gentleman. He's always, you know, polite, had time for everyone, and he will be welcome with open arms. And I'm hoping the club puts something on for him, mate, because it's well deserved.
I think that's right. I said it on Wars TV. I said there are two types of NRL players who go and play for other teams. There are the Trent Barrett types, and then there are the Lance Thompson types. Trent Barrett is not really liked around the Sharks very much. However, Lance Thompson, he's like a Sharks legend, even though both of those guys are Dragons players. And Sean Johnson is certainly a heralded and much loved former Shark, but he is a Warrior through and through. And so it'll be good to see him have one last match against the Sharkies.
Can I just ask? I hope. Oh, when Paul goes, yeah, I hope Franco's watching, or he can comment or see what he's going to do, because I was hoping he was on here to sort of talk about they had a farewell haka for Sean Johnson at the Warriors Stadium, and I guarantee they're going to have a farewell haka at the end of this game at Shark Park. So I'm hoping he's coming to the game, because Franco loves a haka.
Franco loves a haka. He's going to be doing that. And Paul sent through a love heart. It's all good fun with you, Paul. Paul, you should come on an episode of the Debrief. If you ever want to come on and do the dial-in, we'd love to have you on the show and hear some of your opinions, mate. You're an absolute legend and good part of the show. And anyone who comments like Paul, we certainly welcome it. He's the honesty broker of the ET stand. Like, he really is.
Keeps us on our toes.
Keeps us on our toes, indeed. Yes,
One
Matthew?
final point. I'm going to get philosophical for a second. I love Paul's passion and commitment, but these chats, they're there because obviously somehow, you said honesty and common sense, but somehow we end up diverting and going, no, put Talakai on the right, put him on the left, move him, put him at fullback. Who knows? Do you know why it's called WD-40? Because it took him 40 attempts to actually get the recipe right. So correct. So
or
that's why it's called.
We can do 40 different things.
No,
they do more than 40 things, mate.
They had 40 bits of trial and error before they finally got there. And I think that the Irou versus Talakai experiment, I think that the Knights game kind of proved that Irou is definitely Ramian and Irou are the setters now. That's one game that tested, got out of our system, everyone's quest to get Talakai back in as a full-time centre. I think that that answered that question. So, but you never know what you might stumble upon or find out. So Atkinson, at the start of the year, if we said, hey, Atkinson will play, how many games he played? 10, 15 games?
15.
Yeah,
11, I think.
Yeah, if I told you that at the start of the year, would you think that our season would have gone as well as it had? Probably not. I would have been like, oh, geez, that's rough. We're probably sitting, I don't know, 8th to 10th. But, yeah, so you never know what you're going to get. So keep them coming, Paul.
Keep him coming. All right, Chris Kelly, around the NRL. Bit happening heading into the final series. It's all the media is just talking about the fact that there's like 5 teams going for the top 8. But anyway, Chris, take us around the league, my friend.
Well, we'll get into that one. All right, so let's just start off with something we might have missed last week, and it was the 14th Immortal in Ronnie Coote being named as the 14th Immortal on the weekend. There he is, the big Ronnie Coote. You usually call up Boldo on a Monday and say, how'd you go on the weekend? Did you get a Ronnie Coote? He turned into a great Australian colloquial term. So it's everyone's second favourite player to go around. So he was the 14th Immortal named on the weekend. So congratulations to you. We'll see who gets named after that. There's obviously a long list of players going into the Immortal chat and who's going to go up next. But he was the one named, and you can't deny after winning, was it Williams, is it 5 or 6 premierships you got? Ronnie, 6, there you go.
Yeah, 4 with South and 2 with Roosters, I think.
Yeah, there you go. So you can't knock that back. All right. So again, on the weekend, we had a couple of sin bins and a couple of non-sin bins, and the fans were in uproar over Stephen Crichton against our Wars TV guys, where he put a shoulder in and wasn't sent to the sin bin, but he's obviously copped a 1-game suspension. Boldo's favourite player, Jared Warner-Hargraves, obviously got a sin bin on the weekend against the Gold Coast Titans. I'm sure he's watching with interest. and copped a 3-game ban going into the finals. And our own Jessa Ramian got a 1-game suspension. Interestingly enough, there were 3 sin bins in the Manly West Tigers games, with 2 players being involved in 1 tackle, and one's got suspension in Corey Waddell, and Daniel Paseka got a monetary fine. So a few more headshots, a few more sin bins, more mud in the water, more bunker controversy. If you ask Boldo and I, if you watch the NFL, they refer things to New York, to a central system, and I think that's the way they should go. Whether they're going to review that in the off-season, they've talked about having some sort of junket or summit or something like that. But I'd like to see, instead of having a referee-based just in a game, they could just have a central line back to Graham Ainsley. There's no reason why he can't sit there and watch all 8 games like the rest of us do in a central system and send the decision back there instead of going back and forth all the time. But they seem to be getting a few things wrong still, but we're going to fix them up.
The NRL's loved a good fact-finding trip to the States since Jack Gibson, so I'm sure they'll find their way around it.
Yeah, it was. I watched the Graham Ainsley press conference with interest, and he sort of buried it under high shot stats, suspensions, on reports, sin bins, and kept saying, but we got Crichton wrong, and then go back to the stats. So we'll watch this space and see what happens in the off-season. As we have touched on, Craig Bellamy is resting 11 Storm players going to the North Queensland Clash this weekend after winning the minor premiership, flogging the Dolphins, and the Panthers lost to Canberra. There's still in Pappenhausen, Munster, Fa'alago, and Grant Anderson going from wing to halfback. So he is still taking a couple of stars up there, much to Buzz Rockfield's whinge. But I'm sure if Buzz watched during Origin, they had a lot of reserve players running around anyway. So I don't know what he was banging on about this game when they've already wrapped up the minor premiership. They have the longest trip and shortest turnaround in their season, where they travel to North Queensland and have a 5-day turnaround to face the Brisbane Broncos, who are pushing for a spot in the finals. So Craig Bellamy will bring back most of those guys and rotate some more out. And maybe we might see a bit of a Broncos sneak in. So we'll go on to the draw this week, guys. There is quite a lot of games. Obviously, the talk about our game against the Dragons last weekend was the talk of the town, because we had top 4 ramifications. We had top 8 ramifications. And luckily for us, we just hammered the Dragons 4 and against, who are currently minus 115. So they are a bit behind the 8 ball, but they have a 2-point jump on the Cowboys, sorry, to lock in the top 8 on the Dolphins, Broncos, Knights, and Canberra Raiders. The matchups we got this weekend, obviously, like I said, the Cowboys are locked into their top 8, and the Storm are locked into the first. We've got the Dogs versus Seagulls, which has top 4 ramifications for our game. You've got the Panthers, who need to win to keep on that top 4. They're slid into 4th position. Dragons versus Eels, or Dragons need to win that game against the Eels, who are trying to avoid the wooden spoon. So the West Tigers this week have a bye, so they get 2 points. They have a worse for and against than the Eels. But if the Dragons happen to beat the Eels, we get our perfect game the next week. Dragons need to win that to stay in the 8. You've got the Dolphins versus the Broncos, which has massive top 8 ramifications. The Broncos need to win both, and so the Dolphins. We spoke on our game. Knights and Titans are fighting out. The Titans are pretty much done and dusted. The Knights need to keep winning, and they got an easier game the following week. And then the Roosters and Raiders. Roosters going in full strength, not worrying about what the Raiders are going to do, but the Raiders have to win their match also. So I know we touched on our top 8s a couple of weeks ago, but it's still a bit murky at this stage.
You're the around the league guy, Chris. Tell us who's finishing 8th. Come on.
Out of the 8, I think the Knights are going to get it. They have an easier draw and an easier run. I don't see the Broncos. They'll probably beat the Dolphins this week, which will knock them out of contention. But I don't see the Storm helping the Broncos get into the top 8 in the final round. I don't see the Raiders upsetting the Roosters. And just because the Dragons beat the Eels, they have, like I said, a massive negative for and against. I don't think the Bulldogs and Eagles push us. It's just the Eagles, their odd number of points they're on at the moment sort of is a bit worrying. But I think we'll flog the Wars and cement our top 4 spot.
All right, that's encouraging.
Boldo, what do you?
There it is.
Who's your? All right.
Who's mine?
Who's your 8th position?
Just reminding you, Boldo, before you answer this, you mocked me for saying the Knights a couple of weeks back.
It won't be the Knights. The Broncos will win the next 2 matches. If the Broncos win the next 2 matches, are they definitely in, or will the Dragons still be in if they win the 2?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
If Dragons win both games, they cement it, even with the -4 and against.
So the Dragons have got Eels and who?
And they play in the last round. Oh, now you're testing me. They play Canberra at Canberra.
Yeah, the Dragons will win both those. Dragons are in.
Talking about streaks, they have a horror record in Canberra. The Dragons.
They do. That's one of the bad streaks.
That's one of the all-time streaks.
That's of course. And you've already preempted your spoon bowl bloody comment, really, haven't you?
Because the best thing coming out of the draw this season is the last round of the season, going to Campbelltown. West Tigers get to play the Parramatta Eagles in the Spoon Bowl. What a fantastic way to end the season. The most anticipated game of the last round. Instead of teams resting players and all these ramifications for top 8, we get a wooden spoon bowl. So no matter what the Eels do this week, it comes down to the next week. Because like I said, the Tigers have the bye, so they got 2 points banked. Comes out of a game at Campbelltown, 6 p.m. on a Friday. Tickets are selling quick. I've already made
match of the round.
I might go there. Match of the round. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. And Boldo knows how fun of a ground Campbelltown is. And the sensory out there is just, it's going to be hanging off the rafters.
Fair enough.
And finally, Kyle Felt today has announced his retirement from the NRL. He's heading to the Super League, though, which probably upsets Val Holmes a little bit, moved to the Dragons, but he's retiring with quite a number of tries, prolific try score for the Cowboys, been there forever and age. You can see him scoring that try in the dying minutes of the 2015 grand final to put the Cowboys at a chance to win it from the sideline, but didn't, but obviously won at Golden Point. And Kyle Felt's moving on. Williams, you got any stats on Kyle Felt try scoring against us?
Yeah, Franco put me on the spot this morning about this one, saying that he had the record. He does have the record for current players playing, or now that he's retiring, in the NRL against the Sharks with 17 tries. But there's one player in history that's scored more against us. It's a recent player. His brother played for the club, so this may give the answer away. Do you guys want to stab it? Brett Morris, correct. Brett Morris, 20 tries in 20 matches. I will give Rugby League Project a shout out for helping me put these stats together and also throwing me a gherkin with a few players that I got excited about. I was like, what do we have? Blake Ferguson, Michael Gordon, and Josh Morris. I thought, oh, geez, they're in the top echelon or top 5 of players that have scored against us too, but I redid the numbers and they were all around between the 5 and 10 tries. So other players have scored a lot against us. Terry Lamb had scored 17 tries as well, so tied with Kyle Felt, 17 tries in 29 appearances for the Bulldogs. We got Steve Renoff as well, scored 15 tries in 15 matches against us. Bill Mullins also scored 15 tries in 18 matches. That's Brett Mullins' dad. Ken Irvine, so the greatest try scorer of all time as Predon, has scored 9 against us in 13 matches. And Billy Slater, who's up there, he got 11 tries in 24 matches. So we actually did pretty well there, keeping Billy to a less than 50% strike rate against us, despite him scoring 2 tries on debut, famously against us. And in there as well. So, yeah, I won't mention any further about it. And Alex Johnston has only scored 4 times against us, despite scoring a million tries against everyone else. So it was a bit of an interesting stats review there.
That's pretty good. Oh, well, yeah, screw you, Alex Johnson. Yeah, you're not going to... I hope he doesn't get the try-scoring record, Alex Johnson.
Ooh. You don't want to see one in your lifetime? You don't want to see one in your lifetime?
Yeah, I am going to see one in my lifetime. Ronaldo Bulapalo is going to be the all-time greatest try-scorer in rugby league history.
Or is it Sam
Might be Tom Hazelden, mate.
Or it might be Sam Stone. All right. Well, look, the Sharks are taking a pretty settled lineup, but my estimate is there's 20 or 21 current Sharks players who have got an argument for the fact that they should be in the top 17. Now, I've got a text message from Coach Fitzgibbon today advising me of what the strongest lineup is and what he expects the team to be going into week 1 of the finals. And I am here to reveal it right now exclusively on the ET stand, is that this is currently the expected team for week 1 of the finals. And I'm going to run through the team. I'm even going to boot the music up. So here we go. Where are we? Yeah, okay.
Are we spreading misinformation here, or have you actually got it?
Of course, there's information here. There's nothing factually correct on the ET stand. Boldo's expected week 1 finals lineup for the Cronulla Sharks. William Kennedy will be the fullback. Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Mulitalo will be the wingers. Rami and Eniro, that dynamic centre combination will be
in place. No spot for you, Sipper. Trindle and Hines in the halves. Hines, of course, will be the halfback. Rudolph and Kafusi will be the starting props with Blake Brayley at number 9. Britton Nicola, Teague Wilton, Cam McInnes, Captain Cam. And the bench will be Jack Williams, Royce Hunt, Sifa Talakai, and Tom Hazelton. That is what we expect the team to be in week 1 of the finals. So that is what I think it's going to be based on what we're kind of seeing now. Lats, what's your take on the halves? Is that
mate. It's
going to be those two?
I see you've left Atkinson at 18th man there.
I have. I just couldn't fit him on the page.
That's possible, very possible. I think we've got to go with Trindle in the halves with Hines. They've got to partner him. We looked a lot more organised when he came back this week or the week just gone. I think Atkinson's still learning his craft in the top grade, but I think Nico Hines and Trindle is the way to go. I would love to see a bench spot for Atkinson, but it does, however, take away from our impact, but also covers if anyone goes down in the backs or the halves. It is a bit of a conundrum for Fitzy, but I think you've got it. You've hit the nail on the head there, mate.
Mr. Williams, is that the bench that you think will play?
I maybe controversially, maybe not, say no. So if Hammond Willie's knee is good, I think that he gets a bench spot. I think Tommy has done a job for us, and I think he's been improved. He needed a rest. He's had a few good recent games, but hasn't hit the heights of early in the season, and that's not his fault. He's still young, but I think Hammond Willie is a better option. Obviously, too, though, noting that he didn't play particularly well against the Knights, but I thought he was improved against the Dragons. So I would have him on the bench over Tom.
I think the next 2 weeks is pretty important for Hamlin, Ueli, and Hazelton or Hazelwood to get into the team. I just think the rest of them, I think Jack Williams' defense and his solidness in what he's brought to the middle and also his utility out wide, if required, makes him a must. Royce Hunt's obviously been a beast. And Talakai picks himself. And Kafusi is clearly in front of the rest of them. So
Kafusi's our form prop, I'd say, over Hunt right now.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then Rudolph's also getting heralded. So really the only selection spot there is Tom Hazelton. Chris, are you seeing, and this is not what you think the team should be in terms of what strategy you would take in. This is the team that I think Fitzy will actually pick, just so we're clear.
I think this is the team that Fitzy will pick, but as we've sort of stated before, and we went through it the other week about who would you take out of the team, and all 4 of us had a different answer. I'm still changing the 14 to 16, and Ueli comes in at the 16 there for me. So, but can I throw in a little audible? We were talking about it before, and I was thinking about it today. Given our finals record and where we've finished and things like that, do you like being in the top 4 and being second and third, playing those teams, or would you like to have a tune-up, even though it's riskier being 5th and knocking out a team and going into week 2?
If you want to win the comp, you've got to get the week off. You've got to just go for broke. Win week 1, get the week off, and that changes everything. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you want to go all the way, that's the way you got to go.
It's just going off the last couple of seasons of playing the Roosters and playing the Cowboys, and you bash each other to hell. Because I always thought the same thing. You play the top 4, and you either get the week off or you go and play a second week, and it's the second week that really, you're going in sort of beat up. But in saying that, I'm quite happy that Ronnie's having a bit of a rest, Ramian's having a little bit of a rest, and hopefully our guys get a little bit of a rest going into the Manly game. So, you got to be in that top 4, but it was just
got to be top 3, Chris.
You got to be top 3.
The 4th team doesn't win that often. It's the 1, 2, 3 that win.
It was just something I was thinking of today. Going, well, those teams that we just all different names, limping coming 8th, like a Knights, a Broncos, a Dragons. Like it's not something that really worries me, but. Yes, it's always that risk.
West Tigers in 2005 finished 4th and won the competition in the old McIntyre system, with Cowboys finishing 5th and making the grand final as well. But that was a different final system. I think if you look at the Knights-Raiders game last year, Knights were lay down, Mazaire, short price favourites, everything, and Raiders rocked up. So I think if you go in that sudden death knockout round, you get one of those teams fired up. Exactly.
Well, Sharks
starting year.
2017, Matty. We watched it together. We expected them to knock the Cowboys out, and then we're still angry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Cowboys went all the way. So,
all right, let's just hit through the comments here. We've got Paul's come out and backed me, so thank you, Paul. Paul's come through in the comments, and I think Boldo's on the money here. Possibly switching Trindle and Hines. Let Trindle run the side, and Nico can roam. I think that's a possibility strategically, Paul. I don't think they will do that with the numbers on the jerseys, though. I think they will stick with Nico wearing the number 7. They're not going to put a number 6 on his back and create that controversy. Sonya's just come through now with a comment, new game plan, Nico and Tricky do rock, paper, scissors. Just run out. Possible.
Who wins that? Who wins rock, scissors, paper in that?
Well, look, I've got a whole podcast on winning rock, paper, scissors on my strategy podcast. It goes for 55 minutes, me talking about how to win rock, paper, scissors. If you want to listen to it, go on to Spotify. All right. SJD.
If you've run out of melatonin and you want to get to sleep, give it a listen.
That's probably fair. SJD reckons I'm spreading fake news. Williams 2.0 is saying that it doesn't look right without Stone Street. No, I don't think he's going to make it 2.0.
The depth is good. I really like the depth this time around compared to 2022, where we had was it Tracy on one wing and then we ended up with Lockie Miller on another. I think we're in a good place. Touch wood.
Yep,
that's probably right. Stephen, we're going to come back to your comment here in a second. There's a few comments up the top here. Let me just get to them. Hold on. There's a lot of comments coming through here. Hold on. Where are you? Up the top.
You're probably right in that, William, saying that. Like, it's good having depth at this stage because instead of going to that week 2 of the finals a bit bashed up, maybe dropping a few players, at least we've got those guys that we can trust that can plug straight in. So probably a little more confident going into this season.
SJD's come through in the comments saying 6 Hines, 7 to Trindle, 14 Atco. I just can't see them. They're just not going to change they're on the strategy of the 4 big backs, 4 big forwards on the bench. I think that's.
They ran Beryl for a while there.
Yeah, Beryl's. You're not going to win a fight. Yeah, like
Beryl's not open to it.
Beryl's great, but he's not Braden Amlin-Ueli or Tom Hazelton who can impact and come on and change a game.
I'm just saying Fitzy's open to trying some different things, so you never know.
Utilities, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay. All right. Well, look, that was the expected week 1 final team. I reckon it's pretty locked. All right. Anything else we need to chat about, fellas?
Hopefully no injuries. Hopefully it's locked. That means the next 2 weeks go smoothly and we're not going, who are we using to replace said injured person here? Because remember, Talakai had that syndesmosis injury in the final round of 2022 as well. So after the hip drop. So hopefully things are all smooth.
Chris, did you enjoy the NRLW girls team? They were just so good on the weekend, weren't they?
I love it. Emma Tomagato just absolutely tore through that team. It was like I said, I have a bit of a connection to one of the Dragons girls there, but it was an absolute masterclass from watching that. Can I throw on the strategy hat for you, Boldo, in regards to what we sort of touched on? You know, if we go out and flog and results are, we're second, third, obviously can't miss first or fourth. Do we rest and sort of try different combinations going to the 4 Pines Park against Manly, like a little crystal ball, or what would you do? If Hines doesn't play this week, would you have him run out against Manly and see how he goes and go from there?
The problem with playing Hines, if you're resting everyone else, is that you're then exposing him to a getting overrun and having to run it more and exposing him to an injury. What is my worry with that? If the Sharks are guaranteed second or third finish, then you rest all the players who have niggles a lot.
Yeah. If we're top 4 locked in, you just start resting people.
If you're fourth, third, there's a difference between fourth and third. I would play if we can get to third. I play everyone.
And then watch Newtown's season crumble.
Well,
that's what they're there for.
Okay. Exactly.
All right, some other comments. Francis, you put the mock on him. Flag on the move to make the final. 6 wins in a row. Would we call that a streak?
Not only that, they've been getting big wins too. They've put 50 points on several weeks in a row, 40 points on prior to that. They've turned the corner and they are pumping teams. So fingers crossed for this week. Get down there early. Are they playing before the first grade game? I think that's the plan.
Not too sure.
I reckon you're going to look that up whilst I queue
I'm
up
looking.
the next
Go
comment.
for it.
You look it up and I'll queue up the next comment, which is Stephen Hayes come through. Nico going out and having a shocker could ruin our season. This is true. Do we think he will play against the Warriors? Wouldn't name him for no reason on the reserves. That is a fair point. They're not naming him for no reason on the reserves bench. There's got to be some chance that he plays, doesn't there, Chris?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a chance they play, but with the rules they've brought in, you have to name players in your 23 on the Tuesday, as Boldo learned throughout the season, to be eligible to pull one of those Swifties. So if there's a chance they think, you know what, we need to run out there against the Warriors, we might put him on the bench. He has to be named in that 23 to be a chance. Again, he was down there on the weekend, part of the training, part of the circle huddle up before the start of the game on the weekend, throwing passes around as well. So he's obviously getting close, and we all do want him to have a run. I can see the point of you don't really want to upset what's going on in the mirror at the moment, but a team without Nico is not going far in the finals. He's got to be in that team. Yep. So
he needs some minutes under his belt going into a finals
it's
campaign.
Been a while.
Sharks 5th, the Warriors 11th. He's happening at 5:20 this Saturday night at Shark Park, so get down there.
So pre-game.
Fair enough. And lastly, if anyone is a late viewer to watching us later on YouTube on the debrief, you will have noticed that the lovely Janice Bolderman has gone and left her debut comment, tearing me an absolute new one about a grammatical error that I made in my language use.
You would say that right.
I couldn't even say that right, could I? I made a grammatical error. And funnily enough, Chris made the same error. So if you watch the debrief, I said Franco and me to talk about, and I corrected myself to Franco and I to talk about, but it's actually Franco and me. Actually, Franco and me. So if you want a long-winded explanation of why it is Franco and me, for Franco and me to talk about, because you wouldn't say for I to talk about, you would say for me to talk about. So you just take away the first person's bit, and that gives you the explanation. So
you got poor Boldo's. You know, Janice is looking after him in the grammar part, and you got Anik looking after you in the spelling mistakes. It's pressure from both sides.
We're all a tiny bit more educated and smarter, but we've just lost 15 viewers as we've digressed. So.
I think we also just lost all the viewers because we're getting to the end of the show. All right, well, everyone, thank you for watching us on the ET stand, and get excited, Sharks fans, for the end of the season as the Sharks. There's 2 rounds left. The Sharks are definitely playing final football. What position they're going to finish up on? Well, we don't know. But we're going to be in it. And that means anything could happen. Coming up next week or this week on the ET stand, Williams has got Franco joining him for a Chronicles match. Matty, which match is it?
2015, Jeff Robson. We had a whole stack of players out late notice. I think the virus went through the camp. We lost Andrew Fafita, Wade Graham, and Paul Gallen. And it's a bit of a fun one and a bit of an odd finishing score. All right, well, we'll keep an eye out for that
Scoregami.
I've got a bit of scoregami. I've got Ash from Wise Up TV joining me for a video in a couple of days. I'm working on getting an interview. So you know who I'm trying to get. If you're the person I'm trying to get interviewed, we're just going to try and work out a time. So hopefully we'll get that too. And we will be live with the debrief straight after full time this Saturday night for Sharks fans to share their thoughts, feelings, and everything else in between as the Sharkies hopefully take out the New Zealand Warriors and make that claim for the Telstra NRL Premiership. That was the ET Stand podcast for my lovely co-host Matthew Williams, Christopher Kelly, Scotty Latino. I'm David Bolderman. This was the ET Stand. Up Cronulla. We'll see you next time.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.